Things that I would never eat as a vaginal health nutritionist, food combining addition. We were taught all wrong how to eat. When you eat animal proteins like eggs, meat, poultry, and fish, your stomach produces hydrochloric acid.
The first thing to get out of the way before we move on is that the stomach produces hydrochloric acid upon the sight and the smell of food, and upon the ingestion of any sort of food. It's not just protein. With that being said, our stomach is always between a pH of 1.5 and 3.5. And if it ever goes above this, it would actually be quite dangerous. Therefore, it really does not matter the type of food that you eat, your stomach will always be acidic.
The stomach produces hydrochloric acid, as well as a particular digestive enzyme that helps to digest the meat in an acidic environment. When you eat a starchy carb like rice, potatoes, pasta, these require a different enzyme and a more alkaline environment for them to be digested in. When you eat animal proteins and starchy carbs together, the acid and alkaline neutralize each other, the enzymes can't do their jobs, digestion stalls, and that leaves you at risk for food fermenting in your digestive tract.
So this will make a lot more sense if we just look at our digestive system. Our stomach is acidic, and the acidity of our stomach is used to break down proteins and kill off any bacteria on our food. There are no enzymes released into the stomach, because enzymes cannot function properly at such a low pH. This is because enzymes are made of protein, and the function of the extremely acidic stomach is to break down proteins. Once food meets our stomach acid, it becomes a more liquid substance called chyme. And chyme is gradually released into the small intestine. It is true that chyme is quite acidic, but very importantly, the acidity of the chyme stimulates the pancreas to release what are called pancreatic juices. And these juices contain a buffer called bicarbonate that will buffer the acidic chyme and create an alkaline environment inside of the small intestine. Also contained in the pancreatic juices are enzymes that will completely break down protein and begin the breakdown of starch and fat. Even more importantly is the more acidic the chyme released into our small intestine, the more pancreatic juices we will produce. Therefore, the more enzymes that will actually be available to break down carbohydrates and proteins. And interestingly, too little stomach acid can actually lead to a pancreatic enzyme deficiency, meaning we do not produce enough pancreatic enzymes in response to a meal due to low stomach acid. So she is technically correct that protein is partially digested in the acidic stomach, and carbohydrates are almost entirely digested in the alkaline small intestine. However, as you can see, these are two separate locations, and it is the acidity of the stomach that helps us release all of the enzymes involved in carbohydrate breakdown. With that being said, I do want to mention one thing. This individual may actually be correct that protein can inhibit the breakdown of starch. It is not for the reason that she discussed. However, proteins, fats, and fiber can inhibit the proper digestion of starch. The reason for this is that protein can actually form bonds with some of the glucose molecules inside of the small intestine. And it can also form somewhat of a coating around the starch molecules. And this makes it much more difficult for all of those digestive enzymes in the small intestine to actually get in contact with the starch in order to break it down into absorbable glucose molecules. Therefore, there is a mechanism by which protein can actually make it more difficult to fully break down and absorb carbohydrates. With that being said, what happens to undigested carbohydrates? Undigested carbohydrates can be fermented by bacteria that should be found inside of the large intestine. This is the same thing that fiber does, because fiber goes undigested through the stomach and the small intestine, and can be fermented by the bacteria in the large intestine. And some of the compounds that these bacteria can produce are extremely health promoting. Therefore, if you do not already have a pre-existing digestive issue, a little bit of undigested starch may actually be a beneficial thing. With that being said, if you already have an underlying digestive issue, such as excessive gas and bloating, insufficient breakdown of starch can worsen your symptoms. Therefore, if you do already have underlying digestive issues, you may find benefit from not eating a meal that is high in carbohydrates and high in either fiber, protein, or fat. With that being said, it has nothing to do with the acidity of our stomach or the alkalinity of our small intestine. And if you'd like to learn how to take control of your health and energy, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.